Rusting stuff. And I'll tell you what, this is the very first time that I've had success at getting the liquid to rust so that I could use that liquid to rust stuff. And here's the secret. Other things that I've tried are paper clips from the Dollar Tree. Those didn't work. Nails, just random nails that I found in the toolbox in the garage. So I made a special trip to Lowe's, and I actually asked 2 different people that worked there for advice on how to find things that will rust. And they were like, that won't rust? I'm like, no, that will rust. And after some confusion, I ended up explaining to him that I make just junk journals and what have you. Anyway, long story short, this nice gentleman led me to where I live. It's aisle 14. I don't know if all Lowe's are the same, but in my Lowe's it was aisle 14 by the nails and stuff. And the secret, it's not necessarily this exact one. I don't know. Does that even show up? I'm sorry about the light in here today. It is daytime and it's not especially overcast, but I think the light is not great. Sorry about that. But it says box nails steel. That's the important word, not stainless steel, not galvanized steel, just plain steel. So I don't think that these are the only ones that will work. Just make sure that you find something that just said steel, or do like I did and just maybe ask somebody. But anyway, without further ado, I'll get to, and I'll tell you this before I get started. I should have time-lapsed videoed it or something because I could not believe the water. It isn't water. I'll get to the recipe in a minute here. But the process started immediately. I mean, within 20 minutes, I could have got a light rust dye on something. And within 2 hours, the jar was actually warm to the touch. And there was a big head of foam, about that much on the top of it. It was just a little pickle jar. And I couldn't believe my eyes. So I just slept through the night. And the next morning I got up and it was just so dark. That was very exciting because my last attempt, I let a jar sit on my counter for about 2 weeks. And it was a canning jar, and the lid actually began to rust, but that was the only thing that rusted, nothing that was inside. Anyway, so regular steel is what does the trick. And the mixture that I used was a little more than half hydrogen peroxide and a little less than half, I use cleaning vinegar. I think any kind of vinegar will probably work. I use clean and maybe about roughly 2 tablespoons of salt. I don't think it's important at all that those measurements be exact, but I did not use any water. I know a lot of the recipes that I've seen on YouTube, people will use water and vinegar, but I'm not patient enough for that. I mean, like I said, this whole thing was ready to go within 2 hours. So I'll just, and if you are, there are quite a few videos out there on this. If anyone's interested in just watching me do my process and stuff, let me know in the comments and I will go ahead and do a full tutorial on it. But and if you're interested in buying this whole bunch of stuff, let me know and I'll go ahead and throw it up on in my Etsy shop. There's some vellum. believe this is just copy paper. This is really old. I found these in the town that Mayberry RFD is based off of, Mount Airy in North Carolina. And I found just two of the sweetest ladies in this fabric shop. And they had a bunch of these vintage sewing books on sale. So that's just a page from that. And here I decided just to leave a little bit of the white showing. This one's copy paper. This, this may be watercolor paper. This is either watercolor paper or from my sketch pad. I think it's watercolor paper. I should have kept track of that. Sorry about that. And this is 110-pound cardstock. And I thought it'd be fun just to burn the edges of that for a little extra interest. Copy paper. And I did, this effect was from just using a small, just one of these little spray bottles full of the solution, and just set a doily down and kind of held it down with my hands. I didn't tape it or anything, but that worked pretty well. It came out pretty good. Here's a page from a vintage book, Charles Dickens' Great Expectations. And this is just copy paper. I just used a little bit of a stencil on that. Came out pretty good. From that same shop that I mentioned, here's a very old sewing pattern. The picture showed clothes from like the 60s or maybe even 50s. I don't know. It's very old. It's just a piece of cardstock. Again, not 100% sure. I think it's watercolor paper. This is just copy paper, and I used my wood stencil on this one. Just copy paper. I like how this one came out. This one I had a square grid stencil. Left a lot of white on this one. This is from a 1923 typing, how to type book, like a typing book. Just copy paper here. I just love how every page is different, and you get a deeper color, I mean, than you do with coffee dye. But in fact, some of these actually I started with copy dye paper. This one, I think this one had like an alphabet stencil, but it just barely came out. You can see it a little bit. There's the H, F, G, H, L, M. A little bit on that side too. This is from a vintage Shakespeare book, Merchant of Venice. Just copy paper. This one I started with coffee dyed paper, and the nails that I used to create the rest in the first place, I set them down on the coffee dye paper so you can see the pattern of the nails. There's some little holes in the paper and stuff. But I really like how that came out. I just love the surprise of it. You just never know. Well, I say just never know, like I do it all the time. This is, like I said, the very first time it's worked at all. But it's so much fun. I know I'm going to be doing it again. This is copy paper that came out with a little bit of white, but just nice and dark. Nice and rich. For some of it, I used a sponge. It's like a sea sponge. For some, I just used, okay, I started off with gloves on. You can't tell. And this is why I recommend you do wear gloves unless you want your fingernails to look like this. But I got impatient, took them off for some reason, and there you go. So some of the time I was using my fingers, some of the time just the spray bottle, the sponge, one of those, you know, kind of sponges on the end of a stick. And okay, so this doily was already coffee dyed. And very little, I mean, there's quite a bit of rust on there, but it really didn't come out rusty looking at all. It came out, you know, more gray. Another piece of vellum. I love the crinkle. This one, this is a sketchbook. Came from a sketchbook. Like, I think this kind that's made for like charcoals and stuff. This is just copy paper, but it was coffee dyed. So I guess this is the effect you get, more of that gray tone when you start with coffee dyed paper. But still, some of the rest does show through. This one I decided to crinkle it up and just put the whole ball into the solution and then just carefully uncrinkled it. And it did rip a little bit. That's okay. I really like that effect you get with the crinkles. And one more piece of, I think from a different sketchbook. Yeah. And if you do decide to purchase it, this will be a little extra thank you, full of some small rusted goodies. And that's all for now. Thank you so much for watching. See you guys again soon. I hope you have a wonderful day.